Hey y'all. So hopefully you just finished the Monday lesson video, and that is going to kind of give you the update on chapter 10 that we just went over for grading that quiz. So I'm going to jump right in so we can start reading 11. Listen to the Monday lesson activity for the review of 10, and we'll lead right in to chapter 11. Okay? So, here we go. Tuck it inside your shirt, Maddie, so it won't get rumpled. You have a long journey ahead. Maddie took the packet of folded messages in the thick envelope and placed it where Leader indicated, inside his shirt, next to his chest. He didn't say to Leader, but he thought that later. When he gathered his traveling things, he would probably find a different place for the envelope. He would put it with his food supplies and blanket. It was true that here, inside his shirt, was the safest and the cleanest place, but he had planned to carry Frolic there against his chest. There was not time in 3 weeks to make journeys to all the places and communities. Some of them were many days away, and a few places could be reached only by riverboat. Maddie was not qualified to go by river. The man called Boater was always the one who took messages and trading goods by route. But it had been decided that the message would be posted on every path throughout the forest, so that any new ones coming would see it and turn back. Maddie was the only one who knew all the paths, and who was not afraid to enter forest and travel in that dangerous place. He would post the messages there, and he would go on to his own old place as well. There had been ongoing communication between that place and village for years. Now they must be told of the new ruling. So remember, this new ruling is that nobody else is allowed to come to village to live. So Maddie's job is to put up posters and things to warn people that don't even try. Leader was standing now at the window, as he so often did, looking down at village and the people below. Maddie waited. He was in a hurry to be off, to begin his long journey, but he had a feeling there was something that Leader wanted to tell him, something still unsaid. Finally, Leader turned to Maddie, standing beside him. He's told you that I see beyond, hasn't he? Yes, he says you have a special gift. His daughter does, too. His daughter. That would be the girl called Kira, the one who helped you leave your old place. He never talks about her. It makes him sad, but he thinks about her all the time. And you say she has a gift, too? Yes, but hers is different. Each gift is different, Seer said. Do you know about mine? Maddie thought, but he did not need to ask. As if he had read Maddie's mind, Leader told him, I know of yours. Maddie shuddered. The gift still frightened him so. I kept it secret, he said apologetically. I haven't even told Seer. I didn't want it to be secretive, but I am still trying to understand it. I try to put it out of my mind. I try to forget that it's there inside me, but then it just appears. I can feel it coming, and I don't know how to stop it. Don't try. If it comes without your summoning, it's because of need, because someone needs your gift. Frog? It was a frog first. It was to show you. It always starts with small things. For me, the very first time I saw beyond, it was an apple. You remember that back in Giver, when he started having these weird feelings, and then he couldn't see in color until that apple appeared in his vision and he saw it, the red. Despite the solemnity of the conversation, Maddie chuckled. A frog and an apple, and a puppy, he realized. Wait for the true need, Maddie. Don't spend the gift. But how will I know? Leader smiled. He rubbed Maddie's shoulder affectionately. You'll know, he said. Maddie looked around for Frolic and saw that he had curled up in the corner, asleep. I should go. I haven't packed my things yet, and I want to stop by and tell Jean I'm going, so she won't wonder where I am. Leader kept him there within the comfortable curve of his arm. Maddie, wait, he said. I want to... Then he gazed through the window again. Maddie stood there, wondering what he was to wait for. Then he felt something. The weight of the young man's arm took on a quality of something beyond human flesh. It came alive with power. Maddie felt it from the arm, but he knew, as well, that it was pervading all of Leader's being. He understood that it was Leader's gift at work. Finally, after what seemed an unendurable few moments, Leader lifted his arm away from Maddie and he exhaled. His body sagged slightly. Maddie helped him to a chair and he sat there, exhausted, breathing hard. Remember when Jonas used to use his gift and it would completely exhaust him? And the same happens with Maddie. When Maddie uses his gift to help others, it's like he ran a marathon afterwards. So they're both exhausted by using their powers. Forest is thickening, Leader said when he could speak. Maddie didn't know what he meant. It sounded ominous. But when he looked through the window, a row of underbrush and pines that was the border of forest, it looked no different to him. I don't understand it exactly, Leader said, but I can see a thickening forest. He hesitated. I was going to say like a clotting of blood, things turning sluggish and slick. Maddie looked through the window again. The trees are just the same, Leader. There's a storm coming, though. You can hear the wind, and look, the sky is turning dark. Maybe that's what you saw. Leader shook his head skeptically. No, it was forest I saw, I'm sure. It's hard to describe, Maddie, but I was trying to look through forest in order to get a feeling for Seer's daughter. And it was very, very hard to push through. It was, well, thick. I think you had better not go, Maddie. I'm sorry. I know you love making your journeys and that you take pride in being the only one who can, but I think there may be danger in forest this time. Maddie's heart sank. He had hoped to be given his true name, Messenger, because of this trip. At the same time, something told him that Leader might be right. Then he remembered, Leader, I have to. No, we can post the messages to the at the entrance of village. It will mean new ones will have to turn back after a terribly long journey, and that's tragic, but no, it's not the messages. It's Seer's daughter. I promised him I would go and bring Kira home. It will be her last chance to come, his last chance to be with her. And will she want to come? I'm sure she will. She always intended to someday, and she has no family there. She's old enough to marry, but no one would want her. Her leg is crooked, and she walks with a stick. Leader took several deep breaths. Maddie, he said, I'm going to try again to see beyond forest. I'm going to try to see Seer's daughter with her needs, and her needs. You may stay with me now, because whether you make this journey will depend on what I learn. Sorry, a fast car drove by. But be aware that it is very hard for me to do this twice in a row, so don't be distressed as you watch. He stood again and went to the window. Maddie, knowing he could be of no help, went to the corner where Frolic was asleep and sat down beside his puppy. From there he watched Leader's body tense as if he were in pain. He heard Leader gasp and then moan slightly. The young man's blue eyes remained open, but no longer seemed to be looking at the ordinary things in the room or through the window. He had gone, eyes and whole being, far into a place that Maddie could not perceive and where no one could follow him. He seemed to shimmer. Finally, he slumped into a chair, shaking, and tried to catch his breath. Page 107. Maddie went to him, stood beside him, and waited while Leader rested. He remembered how he felt after he had healed the puppy and its mother. He remembered the desperate need to sleep. I reached where she is, Leader said when he could speak again. Did she know you were there? Could she feel you there? Leader shook his head. No, to make her aware of me would have taken more energy than I have. It's so very far and forest is so thick now to go through. Maddie had a sudden thought. Leader, do you think two gifts could meet? Leader, still breathing hard, stared at him. What do you mean? I'm not sure, but what if you could go halfway and she could too? So you could meet her in the middle with your gifts. It wouldn't be so hard if you only went halfway, if you met. Leader's eyes were closed now. I don't know, Maddie, he said. Maddie waited, but Leader said nothing more. And after a while, Maddie feared he was asleep. Frolic, he called, and the puppy woke, stirred, and came to him. Leader, Maddie said, leaning in close, I'm going to go. I'm going to get the blind man's daughter. Be very careful, Leader murmured. His eyes were closed. It's dangerous now. I will. I always am. Don't waste your gift. Don't spend it. I won't, Maddie replied, though he was not certain what the words meant. Maddie? Yes? He was at the top of the stairs now holding Frolic, who still couldn't manage the staircase on his own. "She's quite lovely, isn't she?" Matty shrugged. He understood that Leader was referring to Kira, but the blind man's daughter was older than he, and she had been like a big sister to him. No one in the old place had thought her lovely. They had been contemptuous of her weakness. "She has a crooked leg," Matty reminded Leader. "She leans on a stick to walk." "Yes," Leader said. "She's very lovely." But his voice was hard to hear now, and in a second he was asleep. Matty, holding Frolic, hurried down the stairs. Page 109. It was late in the day by the time Matty was ready to go. It had rained heavily, and though the rain had stopped, wind still blew, and the leaves of trees fluttered and revealed their pale undersides. The sky was dark from the storm and from the approaching evening. He placed the packet of messages inside his rolled blanket. By the sink, the man was putting food into Matty's backpack. He could not carry enough for the entire journey. It was too long. But Matty was accustomed to living on the food that the forest provided. He would feed himself along the way when what Seer packed was gone. "While you're away, I'll be fixing the spare room for her. Tell her that, Matty. She'll have a comfortable place to live, and she can have a garden. I know that's important to her. She's never been without a garden." "I won't need to convince her. She's always said she'd come when the time is right, and now it is. Leader could tell. So she'll know, too. You said she has a gift." Matty, folding a sweater, tried to reassure the blind man. "It's hard to leave the only place you've known." "You did it," Matty reminded him. "I had no choice. I was brought here when they found me in the forest with my eyes gone." "Well, I did it. Many have." "Yes, that's true, but I hope it won't be hard for her." Matty glanced over. "Don't put those beets in. I hate beets." "They're good for you." "Not if they're thrown on the ground, and that's what they'll be if you put them in." The blind man chuckled and dropped the beets into the sink. "Well," he said, "they're heavy anyway. They'd weigh you down, but I'm putting carrots in. Anything but beets." There was a knock at the door, and it was Jean, her hair curlier than usual from the dampness that remained after the rain. "Are you still going, Matty, in this weather?" Matty laughed at her concern. "I've gone through forest in snow," he boasted. "This weather is nothing. Yes, I'm about to leave. I'm just packing food." "I brought you some bread," she said, and took the wrapped loaf from the basket she carried. He noticed that she had decorated it with a leafy sprig and yellow chrysanthemum blossom. Matty took the loaf and thanked her, though secretly he wondered how he would ever fit it in. Finally, the blind man found a way to tuck it inside the rolled blanket. "I want to stop on my way out of village and see Raymond," Matty said. "I'd better hurry, or I'll never get started." "Oh, Matty," Jean said, "you don't know? Raymond's very sick. His sister, too. They've put a sign on the door to their house that no one can enter." Troubling though the news was, Matty was not surprised. Raymond had been coughing, feverish looking, and increasingly unwell for days now. What did the herbalist say? "That's why they put a sign up. Herbalist is afraid it may be contagious, that an epidemic could come." What was happening to village? Matty felt a terrible unease. There had never been an epidemic here. He remembered the place where he had come from, where many had died from time to time, and all of their belongings had been burned after, in hopes of destroying the illness carried by filth or fleas, or some thought sorcery. But it had never happened here. People had always been so careful here, so clean. He could see that the blind man's face had taken on a worried look, too, at that news. For a moment, Matty stood there, thinking while Seer arranged his pack on his back and attached the rolled blanket below it. He thought of the frog first, and then the puppy, and wondered if his gift could save his friend. He could go to Raymond's house now and place his hands on the feverish body. He knew that it would be indescribably hard. Would it take all of his strength? But he thought that there might be a chance. But what then? If he himself survived such an attempt, he would be desperately weakened, he knew, and would have to recover. He could not possibly make the journey through the forest if he first weakened himself on Raymond's behalf. Forest was already thickening, he knew, whatever that meant. It would soon become impassable. The blind man's daughter would be lost to them forever. And most important, Leader had told him to save his gift. Don't spend it, Leader had said. So Maddie decided with regret that he would have to leave Raymond to his illness. Look, Jean said suddenly. Look at this. It's different. Maddie glanced over and saw that she was standing in front of the tapestry Kira had made for her father. Even from where he stood, he could see what Jean meant. The entire forest area, the hundreds of tiny stitches and shades of green had darkened, and the threads had knotted and twisted in odd ways. The beautiful scene had changed into something no longer beautiful. It had an ominous feel to it, a feel of impenetrability. Okay, that means like you can't go through it. That's what Leader was saying, that it's getting way too thick. It's going to be really hard to pass. He went near to it and stared at it, puzzled and alarmed. What is it, Maddie? Jean asked. Nothing. It's all right. He indicated with his eyes that she could not speak aloud of the odd change in the tapestry. Maddie didn't want Seer to know. Because as we know, Seer is blind, so he doesn't know that this forest has changed in the tapestry. It was time to go. He wiggled his shoulders to adjust the pack comfortably on his back and leaned forward to hug the blind man, who murmured to himself, "Be safe." To his surprise, Jean kissed him, so often in the past teasing. She had said she would one day. Now she did, and it was a quick and fragrant touch to his lips that gave him courage, and even before he started out, made him yearn to come back home. Okay, so that is chapter 11, and what I'm going to do next is daily, I will also record the quiz. We'll do it after the reading. Okay, so at 17 minutes, this is where the Messenger chapter 11 quiz will begin. So I'm going to note that in the comment section that at 17 minutes you will get the read aloud for the chapter 11 quiz. Okay? Question number 1. Blank always took messages anywhere a boat was needed. Was it A, Maddie, B, Seer, C, Leader, or D, Boater? Who took the messages anywhere by boat? Question 2. Leader tells Maddie he knows of his A, mother, B, special gift, C, puppy, or D, crush. What does Leader know about Maddie? Question 3. Leader tells Maddie that Forrest is A, angry, B, opening, C, tangling, or D, thickening. What is going on with the forest? What does Leader tell Maddie? Question 4. Maddie is determined to go on the trip because he needs to A, get Kira, B, help the woman, C, get medicine, or D, visit his mother. So what is the goal of this trip that he's planning to take? Question 5. After Leader could not reach Kira, Maddie suggested that they could A, call each other, B, use a telegraph, C, meet halfway, or D, use their minds. So remember, Leader is trying to use his powers to reach Kira, but he's having trouble. So Maddie's like, well, what if you guys tried this? Okay, number 6. Leader warns Maddie not to A, fall in quicksand, B, get lost, C, spend his gift, or D, fall in love. Leader does not want Maddie to do what? Question number 7. Blank packed Maddie food for his trip. Who packed up his book bag? Is it A, Jean, B, Seer, C, Leader, or D, Kira? So who helped him get ready for his trip? Question number 8. Jean told Maddie that A, Raymond was very sick, B, her father ran away, C, she was leaving home, or D, Raymond was fishing. So that's towards the end of the chapter. Jean comes by, gives him some bread, and tells him what? Question number 9. Maddie was blank about the changes in the tapestry. So remember on the tapestry that Kira made, once the forest displayed there was green and really pretty, but now it's dark and looks impassable. So how is he feeling about that? A, happy, B, concerned, C, angry, or D, surprised. And then finally, question 10. Before he left, Jean, A, smiled, B, cried, C, kissed Maddie, or D, ran away. So something special happened at the end of the chapter. What did Jean do right before Maddie left? Okay, that's it for today. That is the read aloud and the quiz. And then tomorrow I will go over the answers to the 11 quiz, and we'll read chapter 12 and go from there. But these will also be scanned. And that's it. I will see you tomorrow with chapter 12.